You've tuned in to chipsgrooveradio with your hosts, Mike and John. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Mike, and with me today is John. How's it going, John?
Oh, it's going great. I'm just spying on stuff, looking at my watch,
Looking at my watch.
Cool stuff.
Is your watch shooting lasers by chance?
Hell yeah, it's shooting lasers.
Is it also telling you how much health you have left?
Yeah, it does. It's weird. I don't know how it knows.
I just realized now, in this moment, that that's what smartwatches do.
Yeah.
They track your heart rate. You're dying. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are, of course, talking about GoldenEye for the N64. This game everyone knows. Everyone knows. Tell me your history with this game. Real quick, real short.
Yeah, so I played some GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm.
My brother had N64, and he definitely had GoldenEye. But I would say I am a PC first-person shooter snob. I just am not good at playing first-person shooters on console, and it goes back to then. We would play, and I would be terrible at it, and be mad, and then I'd go play Quake upstairs. So,
which came out a year before.
Yeah, but the game's great. It's just such a solid game, especially the multiplayer was so solid.
Yep.
But I don't think it grabbed me, especially in my youth, as much as it grabbed other people.
Well, it was very revolutionary in terms of console. So there's no avoiding that. Obviously, the first person experience is always going to be better on PC just because of the range of motion. I mean, even though mouse look was really new at that point, you just you can control yourself with WASD in Doom better than you can in this game. So I don't blame you for not taking to it. But this soundtrack has a few credits to it. And it is composed by Graham Norgate, notable for Killer Instinct, Perfect Dark, and Donkey Kong Land. And then Grant Kirkhope, with some work from Robin Beanland. They weren't credited, so I'm not 100% sure what they contributed, but I wanted to get their name in there because anyone who's worked on this deserves credit. Kirkhope is a BAFTA-nominated composer. He's done Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Ghostbusters. He did GoldenEye, obviously, Banjo-Kazooie. He's got a huge list of credits to his name, so well done there. And I wanted to say he's also working on The King's Daughter. It is a new movie with, believe it or not, to bring this whole thing full circle, Pierce Brosnan.
Oh yeah. Nice.
So we got talent behind the DAT tapes on this. So I'm excited to jump into this. I have a storied history with this game. I never owned an N64 until well after, and I played this a lot with my friends, of course, because of the multiplayer. The 4-player multiplayer is where it's at.
Yep.
So, truly an enjoyable experience. I want to say, for the record, no one else can argue with me. I'll just say, this is probably the best movie to video game adaptation of all time. And it still holds up.
Yeah, it has to
be.
They
put so much work into this game. It's astounding. So, kudos to the Rare team.
For sure.
Well, you want to dive in, John? Let's dive in.
Sure. I think my first track here is the Bailamore Dam. It starts out with this distorted guitar backed by timpanis hitting left and right in your headphones. The strings and I think horns start in with a fast melody accented by the guitar. In the off measures, you get the theme track. Because a lot of these tracks have the James Bond theme.
Wait a minute. They use the theme?
In pretty much every song.
Oh.
But But I mean, it's a great theme, so you got to use it. And then the guitar comes rocking back in with a high, almost alarm sound. The interlude is the theme track with a simple bass line that gives us a more mellow middle of the track. And at the end of the track, you get this epic string progression and breakdown before it goes back to the theme. So it's just a cool, really fast-paced song.
Yeah,
that gives you that sense of this is definitely James Bond going into a dam and killing some bad guys.
Yeah, the opening track to this album, or well, I shouldn't say album, the first level,
Yeah,
which the dam is, does not disappoint. With its heavy guitars and pounding drums in the intro, they bring us in, right? So the synth strings jump in with that iconic Bond theme, and then we jump into the main groove. It's everything we wanted in a Bond game. It just plunges us into the action. Now, it probably goes without saying that we probably had never experienced anything quite like this with James Bond, and especially not on consoles. So this really brought it home, right? After that first verse, we get a horn section, probably my favorite aspect of the song because it's so unexpected, and they just sing that iconic Bond theme to take the track to the next level. After that, as the drums keep a steady rock beat going, those strings that you were talking about, they hint at the Bond theme, and then they use bells to kind of plink away with deep horns to capture different sections of the theme. It's easily the best part. I think that when it's ramping up, that guitar underlaying with the sustained chords while the horns lead out, the song crescendos and then cascades down in a flurry of violins. It would not be complete without double bass drum. just a machine gun our way back to the beginning of the loop. Yeah. So I call this a Bond theme on crack. It's fast, but not so fast that you feel dizzy. The song, it really has attitude to it that just, man, it just gets you jazzed up, right? When players first stepped into this game. Wow.
Yeah. It's a great action song to really bring it into the game, because that first dam level is a lot of action. It kind of sets the tone for the rest of the game for sure.
Yeah. Talk about bungee jumping into the action with this song. Pun intended. My first song is going to be Chemical Warfare Facility. It opens with drop tune guitar hitting two notes. Semi hip hop beat accompanies it as low strings back the entirety of the track. Playing, once again, that iconic theme. Interspersed with this are various instruments like a xylophone, trumpets, and other horns. Like the rest of the tracks on this album, there are elements that remix and I really want to say reinvent the James Bond theme. But this one I've always loved simply because it's got that sneak factor to it. I might be letting my nostalgia get the best of me here, but the amount of time I spent in this level with my friends, I'm bound to be nostalgic about it. But on top of that, the song is steady and really beckons you to play it cool. There's a cool confidence to you when you're sneaking around this facility. There's danger around every corner, and the droning guitars and that signature hollow sound that GoldenEye is known for, both in game and in the film. Do you know what I'm talking about? That or what, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck that is, but I like it. It really helps build out that facility narrative. And in the latter part of the song, the main theme drops away for a moment and is replaced by this low howling tone and kind of a skittering hi-hat. As the moment lingers on, we get more dirty guitar hitting that Bond theme in short, emotive sections. and then the loop ends and we're back into the original beat. The draw of this song, I think for me, is the mood it sets. You know, you're a secret agent in this song. James Bond's theme is very bombastic and loud, but this reworks it in that, okay, you know, you're a flashy agent, but right now you're doing something very quiet. You're infiltrating, and it's very apropos because you start the level in a vent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this track starts out sounding kind of like a Command and Conquer track.
Yep.
It kind of led me to that. But it's very atmospheric. It's a slow burn track with some really great tense moments when the melody drops away. You have that pulse-like beat commands the middle of the track, like the heartbeat of pounding in your head as you sneak around the facility. And the instruments all come back at once. The danger is gone, or dispatch, and we keep on sneaking. It's it has that. Whereas the Damn is an action flick, this is very much a spy thriller track, for sure.
I love it. So moving on, what is your next track?
My next track is also pretty spy thrillery. It's a GRU military archive.
Oh.
Starts out with this classic James Bond theme intro, but it quickly fades into this quick section with bongos and a xylophone playing the rest of the theme. Almost out of nowhere, these triumphant horns take over, and as quickly as they appear, they're gone. Back to the careful, quiet James Bond theme as we lurk in the archives. It's a quick track that gives you this sting of action before fading into darkness again. Perfect analogy for the game itself. Similar kind of to the Chemical Warfare, although I think it's a little less tense than Chemical Warfare is. It still has that sense of a spy thriller with a little bit of action dashed in.
Yeah, that Bond sting really shocks us into place, and we immediately give way to that plinky beat with a muted xylophone. And I don't have a lot to say about this track other than, to me, it's got that immediacy to it that isn't always present on the album. And the beat just keeps moving along at a good tempo, but it's just fun to listen to as the Bond theme slowly builds and crescendos in that orchestral finale. It's a very short song, but very fun. And yeah, I think it does share some of the same traits with Facility, because you do get that sneaking feeling. But this one, people are shooting at you a little bit more. I think this one's a little bit more immediate danger. So I like it.
How about you for your second track?
My next track is going to be Severnaya Bunker Complex 2. This one opens with a militaristic snare, twinkling bells, and what I call low throat singing. It paints a much darker picture than perhaps the rest of the tracks so far. You do find yourself imprisoned by your enemies while they decide what to do with you and your partner in crime, Natalia. This one always struck me as disparate to the others. There feels like tragedy behind this. Whether or not the campiness of Bond pervades the whole album is irrelevant here. I think the beauty with this track is that while there is that traditional Bond motif, there's enough here to give it more honesty, and it's just more evocative to me. Like I think Kurt Cope composed this one. He was able to capture a moment in time where our heroes may be at a low point or at least getting to a low point, and still give it that sense of determination and hope. So I think this song feels dark. It's quiet and threatening, and there's a hint of hope and rising action. So enemies are everywhere as you break out of your cells. The subdued nature does a lot for me. It just leaves room for interpretation, which is half the fun for me.
Yeah, that low growling instrument just sets this menacing tone for the track. It's a slow, like you said, plodding track, carefully clearing the bunker complex once you get out.
Mm-hmm.
And the almost, I think, French horn rendition of the melody, of the theme melody, also has this triplet note in it that's kind of unsettling. It's kind of an offbeat note to, like you said, have that. You are at a low note. You're at a low point in this game. You're trapped and you need to get out. And there's less action and more survival in this one.
Yeah, a lot more survival.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, I just think this one has such a different feel. There are some slower tracks in this album, but I don't know. This one just struck me a different way, which is kind of why I wanted to bring attention to it. So,
yeah, and you kind of have that militaristic snare as well in the background. Gives you that sense that you're in this military complex, and you know they're trying to figure out what to do with you.
Exactly. GoldenEye, if anyone knows the film, is very militaristic. There's a lot of Russian armies around, a lot of firepower. So it makes sense for sure. And it makes for a fun tune. What about your last choice?
My last one I picked Converted Military Train. It has the drums and bongos at the start of this one are just phenomenal. It's very chaotic with a ton of this depth and complexity. Then comes in the grunge industrial synth to introduce the melody, such that it is. I mean, it's a very stilted melody, very disjointed, kind of mechanical. And then you have this low piano stings that really accent the chaotic, driving nature of the track. Softens a bit towards the end of the loop, where you get some of the James Bond theme. Got to put it in there with the harmonized strings. And no, and not to let you forget the menacing nature of the song. A deeper version of the theme almost mocks the brighter harmonized strings. It's a great track that is has that. It is an action theme. It's less about sneaking around. You're on this train trying to fight your way one way or the other, and you're coming up against Russians and traps and whatever else is on this thing.
I think this song, it has that kind of jungle beat to it, which is a little odd, but I like it. The dirty guitar accompanies the electronic percussion stings. I don't know what that instrument is either, but I know it's it just grabs your attention to shout the danger at you. You know, as we all know in the film, Bond is captured and held hostage, so they have to escape before the train explodes. the electronic guitar really plays the song in, and there's just a lot of symphonic strings and stings even to go with it. You know, as the guitar scales up, it begins to play seesaw with the stings going up and down before and after each short sting section. Does that make sense? Like there's like they go up and then they come down after the sting happens, and I think that's pretty cool. There are a lot of elements in the song that lend themselves to the anxiety of the situation. Providing all the chaos of the moment, I think the song does a great job being stressful without pulling our attention away with what's happening on screen. I think it's just chaotic enough to keep you focused on what you're doing rather than make you mess up. Fun song.
Yeah, for sure. But what's your last pick here?
My final song, probably one of my favorites on this album, Antenna Cradle, the Janus bass Cuba. Now, this is the reason, for sure, that everyone knows about Arecibo Antenna Array. It was one of the coolest sets for an action movie, and everyone knows it from GoldenEye. So Kirk Hope had to kind of capture that immense scale of the situation, fighting atop narrow catwalks hundreds of feet above the bowl of the complex. In perfect fashion, this song has a very tense opening with sustained strings on one note and a medium tempo hi-hat to count us in, with an element of it being like a ticking time bomb. As it gradually builds, we get a whiff of the crushing piano as it hits part of the theme in an on and off fashion. Then suddenly, that low piano fires off and just doesn't quit. A rock beat then picks up speed and intricacy, and suddenly we're off. When it kicks into the main theme, low horns gradually build into this grander painting. It is perhaps the most epic remix of the Bond theme the game has seen so far. The gravity of the situation is expressed here with nonstop piano and percussion. As the song progresses into the second wave of the Bond theme, it gets even fiercer. We scale up to a very determined, very cinematic climax, and then the horns come back to wail their signature accent of the Bond theme. It really just takes off, and we never get a break.
Yeah, there's no slowing down.
Yeah. And that slow build of the theme behind the drums that are just going, right? With every bar, we're getting louder and the theme is developing more. Kirk Hope shows masterful skill on this track on how to ramp up tension and suspense. No pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a wonderful final level theme. And you are James Bond in this level. If you hadn't felt it yet, you do now.
Right. Yeah, it has such a strong start, that 10-string note and the piano, that forceful piano.
Mm-hmm.
It complements the bass line for the track, giving a very exciting undertone. Loving the fast drums and piano / bass with the legato strings over top. Gotta have that theme in there somewhere. But I do like that it kind of creeps in from the background.
It's a lot slower.
It is a great sense of, you're in this mission. It's very tense. It's very fast paced and action, but you're still James Bond, and you got to remember that. You got to save the world, and it's a great track. It just never stops.
Oh, I mean, it just, above all else, it just captures the pinnacle of the game. Even though you're at the end, and there have been plenty of heart-pounding moments up until now. They chose different types of songs for different situations. And this one, I think it's just telling you, this is it. This is the end of the game and you've made it. And for this, that was quite a feat because it's not particularly an easy game, especially if you play it on the hardest difficulty. Right. But it feels like one of those songs where they're congratulating you before you've actually finished it. This feels to me like a very you've done it track. And you feel that when you're playing and you get your adrenaline pumping, not to be too cliche, but this like the dam, it gets your blood pumping real quick.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Overall, I think this is just a fantastic album. It had fallen off my radar pretty much since it came out. I had forgotten how much I loved the soundtrack, though. Kirkhope and Norgate demonstrate this incredible knack for taking the Bond theme and just riffing off of it over and over.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, to be honest, that's all this album is. Honestly, I don't remember right now any songs that aren't spins on the main theme. But that's all right, because to a lot of people that might sound dull and uninspired, but I actually challenge that line of thinking because with so many instruments that have been used and so many stylings of music at their behest, the album is pretty much always fresh, almost always. You know, from quasi heavy metal to a hint of Middle Eastern, from elevator music to hip hop, this soundtrack just has it all. And it captures the atmosphere of the film soundtrack by Eric Serra. And it's on the N64. So I don't know how they managed to make it so good, but they did. And this doesn't even mention that the watch theme that TikTokers have been losing their minds over since the game was remastered. You know, we've all seen the video and it's funny. To be honest, though, I'm happy that people are discovering it. People who never played it, people who were not even fetuses by the time this game came out. They're finding it now and they're appreciating the music and the game, which is awesome. That's what this podcast is for. Kirkhope and Norgate are finally getting more recognition, which is what this is all about.
Yeah, it's such a classic game. And yeah, I mean, making fun of the fact that every song has the James Bond theme, but it is incredibly difficult to have so many tracks that have the same bones to them and make them all sound so disparate and exciting, and to riff on the theme, make the theme work for the song that you're or the mission that you're playing, rather than trying to make the mission or make the song work for the theme, is really difficult. And it's pretty inspiring that they were able to get it done. And yeah, the fact that it's been remastered just goes to show that it's a classic game with a classic soundtrack. Yeah, and it's very it certainly captures the feeling of James Bond and GoldenEye specifically.
It's just fun. James Bond, you're never supposed to take too seriously unless you count the Daniel Craig ones that are, the much more serious James Bond. I think James Bond has always been campy and kind of a parody of masculinity, I guess. I don't know. There's always an element of just ridiculousness to James Bond. And I think they just kind of leaned into that and just made every track as fun as they could make it without being stale. They threw in instruments that you wouldn't think you would use. They dabbled in different styles of music. It's just very interesting to listen to. And it fills out the game very well and makes it a true, I'm not going to say masterpiece because that's a very high praise, but at the same time, it makes it a very tough competitor for originality, I would say. I think they just tried to do a whole lot. And again, like you were saying, that using the Bond theme in every song, I don't think that's an easy statement to make. So, yeah. As to where to buy this, I have yet to find an actual release of this soundtrack to purchase. However, you can find these artists and some of their works on their websites. So that would be www.grantkirkhope.com. He's also got some music on Spotify and grantkirkhope.bandcamp.com. And then Graham Norgate, GraemeNorgate.bandcamp.com. One thing I did want to mention, they actually did just release a vinyl of this soundtrack, but it's actually scored. So they took several of the tracks from this game. Rich Douglas composed the tracks in symphony to kind of honor this game's illustrious soundtrack. And for what that's worth, it honors these two like they should be.
That's awesome.
For me personally, I will give this soundtrack, I gotta give it 10 out of 10 proximity mines, man.
Yeah. You're a proxy miner. Oh, man.
No, I think that was just it captured the terror of James Bond.
I would have to, give it 9 out of 10. Health bars on my laser watch. It is a great track. I don't necessarily have the same nostalgia for it, but it's certainly an appreciated soundtrack.
Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the show. John and I are about to sign off here. If you would like to say goodbye, John, please do so.
Yeah, I'm going to jump out of this airplane with my car, so I gotta go.
My car.
Yeah. Somebody do that?
I'm sure they do at some point. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Also, check out Magus Media's other podcast, This Is Not Happening, Another X-Files podcast for complete episode breakdowns, insightful banter, and inane babble. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey, everyone. If you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me. Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple.
We're not doing that.
We certainly did. Never mind.
Try again.
Scratch that.
Check it out. Look it up.
John.
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, we like to spice the life.
Spice it up.
Spice it up.
Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
if you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.